Hey, it's Paul, and it's Y&R Update. Things are getting hot. Gonna jump right into it. First, we see Ashley, and she is giving Abby and Stitch crap because, of course, she finds them making out. I mean, that's all they can do now. They're also late, which doesn't help their cause. But she tells them that there's a reviewer who's really given a scathing review of Hex, and they've got to get out in front of it. So the brainy idea they come up with is, what are they going to do? They're going to add to the formula and tweak it to make it just as bad as the reviewer is saying. I don't even know how that's supposed to help, and then they're going to come and save the day with the original formula. It makes no sense, but at any rate, they don't get very far with it because Vicky shows up and she tells them she's scrapping Hex altogether. It's not the only bad review they've got, and she says in a while it'll be doomsday for the company if they hang on to the line. And her and Ashley fight about this, and of course it gets personal as well because Ashley accuses her once again of having a vendetta and an axe to grind. So Vicky is sticking to her guns, and she is not going to change her mind about this. So after that, we see Victor, and he's schmoozing with Gabe. They're having a coffee, and he's he's telling him that he's sort of in between the Abbotts and the Newmans, and he can be in a role in the company that's sort of in between both of them and be sort of like Switzerland. And Gabe's not having any of it. Eventually Billy and Chelsea show up. Victor sees them and he approaches them, and they tell him the good news about their wedding. And in fact, they invite them all to come. They tell them the wedding's happening this afternoon. Quickest wedding I've ever seen. I mean, they're not even in Vegas, but we'll go with it. Then we see Victor go off with Chelsea, and now he's going to try and talk her into staying with the company. He doesn't really get very far. She's sort of non-committal on it. And he goes back and he meets with Gabe and tells him that, maybe he can do a better job of it. But before that happens, Billy approaches Gabe and he tells him that he wants to be his best man. Now, Gabe already went for this once and he's not going for it a second time. He turns Billy down flat, and Billy hints that you should show up. This is going to be something that you're never going to forget. Okay, so more teasing about this big blow up, but I think there's going to be a lot of things coming out at the wedding. Then we see Ashley venting to Victor, and not only did she do that, and Victor's not hearing it, he still supports his daughter, but she lets it slip that now Abby is seeing Stitch, and that's news to Victor, but you don't get the reaction you think you're gonna get from the Dark Knight. He sort of glazes over it because he's got more things on his mind. At that point, we see Billy and Chelsea show up at Abbott Newman, and Stitch is there, Vicky's there, Ashley's there, Abby's there. Eventually Victor shows up. But what they're there to do is they're there to invite everybody to their wedding. I don't think you can get any more awkward with all the dynamics in the room, but Stitch and Abby are going to show up. Vicky says no, even after Billy makes a plea to her that he really wants her there. I mean, we all know why he wants her there, but she says that she can't do it. And we see her with Stitch and Abby after, and she's shaken up. They're trying to talk to her, but she's somewhere else. She's rocked by this announcement. So that this wedding is going to be huge, and you can count on Vicky to be there, even though she says she's not going to be. Even Gabe, I think, will be there, even though you can't have a show without Gabe there. But before that, we see Dylan, and he's at the coffee shop, and he overhears Vicky and Nick and Sage talking, and they're talking about, the CPS worker is coming to visit Nick, and he's really tense about this whole thing, and Vicky's telling him that, that Faith is okay, she's had an okay night, and she just wants him to be in the proper frame of mind. They're all getting Nick ready for keeping his temper under wraps while he meets with the Child Protective Services worker. Eventually the CPS worker shows up and Nick goes off to see her, and Vicky, the ever-protective sister, has a conversation with Sage, and she tells her that it's probably a good idea if she back off of Nick right now, because with things going on and the fact that Faith doesn't even like her and Nick almost lost custody, that pushing this relationship is not a good thing for her, and it's not a good thing overall. So Sage still seems sort of determined to be with Nick, but there are a few more developments. But there are a few more developments that happen down the road. We also see something interesting. Michael, he seems to have regained his spunk, and he tells Sharon that he's gotten a judge to have him take the tire iron to another lab. What he wants to do is he wants to run a new batch of tests and go deeper. DNA, find out about where the tire iron came from, trying to match it up to a car, all that stuff. So he's very hopeful. He says he's on his game, and Sharon she's pretty happy about this because she actually feels like she's got a fighting chance, especially if Michael can get this thrown out. But then Dylan shows up and he lets them know that he overheard a conversation, that Nick had about punching out the reporter. And Sharon says she already knows that, but what she doesn't know is that CPS has taken Faith away from Nick, and she's extremely worried about that. So what does Michael do? He actually calls the worker while the worker's having a meeting with Nick. Now, eventually she takes his second call and he asks her to come over. Now, when she comes over, you think Sharon's going to just throw Nick under the bus, but she doesn't. She's looking out for her daughter, and what she does is she does the right thing. She tells them that Nick is not a threat to his daughter and that they're all going through a tough time. In fact, that day that the reporter was there was the anniversary of Cassie's accident, and then she really goes to bat for Nick. And the CPS worker actually changes her decision and lets Nick have Faith. But before Nick knows that, he shows up to Sharon's place after the workers left, and he lets her have it. I mean, Dylan's there, Michael's there, and they go to bat for Sharon. Not only do they do that, but they tell Nick that Sharon did the same thing for him. She actually influenced the worker and let the worker know that it's a good idea that Nick stay with Faith. So they tell Nick that not only did Sharon stick up for him, but she got through to the CPS worker, and the workers changed their mind, and that Faith is going to stay with Nick. Now, Nick looks like a fool. He's jumped the gun again. His temper's got the best of him, and he apologizes to Sharon. He does what he should do, and things seem to settle down on that front. Now, we also see Nick meeting up with Sage after, and he knows that he had a close call and that his temper is an issue. And Sage thinks that everything's great because he's got Faith and they should celebrate. But Nick totally throws her a curveball and he says they actually should take some time apart. And Sage asks, does this mean you want to break up? And Nick says yes, gives her a quick kiss, and he's out the door. Just like that. I mean, come on, give us a little bit more than that, okay? They spend a lot of time together. They have a real physical connection and an emotional connection, and that's all we get is 30 seconds of, yeah, I think it's the best thing, a kiss on the cheek, and he's out the door. So what happens after? She's drowning her sores. She runs into Gabe, who's drowning his sores. And I forgot to tell you that Gabe actually did meet with Victor after, and Victor made an offer again, and Gabe accepted it. So getting back to Gabe and Sage, they meet up at the rooftop. They're both drinking. She basically tells him to get lost because he's rubbing it in her face that Nick left her. I mean, and they did blow the inheritance over that. And what does he do? He lays a kiss on her and she shoves him away. And you know what's going to happen. That lasts for about half a second. She jumps back over and they're going at it like a bunch of school kids. And we know exactly where this is going to end, in one of those comfortable rooms. So there's a lot going on. That's where we ended things off. We've got to wait for the next episode to see if this wedding is going to happen or not, but we know what's going to happen. It's not going to happen. And, for the fans, I feel really bad for the fans of Chatham. That's right, Chelsea and Adam. But anyways, I want to thank you all for checking out YNR Update. It's Paul. I'll talk to you soon. Please send me your thoughts because things are heating up. I want to know what you think. What do you think of the writing as well? Don't forget to follow us on social media and have a great day.